What do you think? Did I?
Well, it was kind of just a drunk night out with the band, really, like, really amazing.
Yeah, too black.
Dear white people, here's a list of acceptable Halloween costumes. Pirate, slutty nurse, any of our first 43 presidents. Top of the list of unacceptable costumes, me.
For me, the message was it's Justin's message, not mine. I feel like as a director of an episode, I'm just a facilitator. Justin's the coach. And he calls a play, and I get to run it. So I think the message of Dear White People, the show for me, and it's not my show, so I can't really speak on it, is about communication and understanding. The way you see certain events told from the perspective of different characters. I think it's about how we experience the same thing, but we process it in different ways. And I think the show illuminates how that different processing can lead to miscommunication, to dysfunction, to separating us. Yeah, I mean, it was very easy to identify with the character Reggie in the episode I directed. I think as a young black man in America, many of us can relate to getting caught up in a situation like that. So what I like to say is the line between me and him was quite short, and it wasn't difficult at all to empathize with the character. Over the course of generations, some of these traumas that we experience, I think they get passed on. There's this feeling, amongst people that can't be erased, that can't be denied, even though we might try to ignore it. And so I do think, especially, I'm on Twitter and I saw the reactions to the episode. I do think people who maybe hadn't experienced that, literally, the scenario that we cover in the episode, they recognized it, and they could trace it back to certain things that had happened to them. And so I don't think there's a generational divide between the story Justin's telling and the audience that we're reaching. I think on the contrary, I think people are using the work of these actors who go so deep to really experience what it's like to walk a mile in these characters' shoes.
In media, with the use of the N-word, especially with the Bill Maher situation.
I know, man, it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, look, I didn't write the episode. Again, as a director on television, I'm just a facilitator. If Phil Jackson calls the play, I go out and execute it. But it was one of those things. It was quite sobering to see that here we created this show, directed this episode, 8 months ago, and then here we are, the same conversation we cover, it just pops up on this, spoken by this very famous, very empowered person. So I think these things are still relevant. And as you said earlier about the generational divide, I mean, hopefully, 20 years from now, we won't need an episode like this. But I think we saw this week that we absolutely do and did and will.
What do you think? Did I?
Well, it was kind of just a drunk night out with the band, really, like, really amazing.
Yeah, too black.